As long as you get MECT, forget me, I'll make sure Lila gets the best treatment. My actor husband Julian, his voice as cold as a scalpel. He stood before me, his tall figure completely engulfing me. Behind him, his sickly, white moonlight little sister, Lila, leaned against the doorframe, a victor's smile appearing on her pale face. MECT, modified electroconvulsive therapy. A treatment that precisely erases specific memories. He wanted me to forget my love for him, to forget our absurd 5-year marriage. Just because Lila's attending physician said her condition worsened, because of my existence. What a ridiculous reason. 5 years, I thought even a stone should have been warmed by me. But Julian's heart wasn't stone. It was ice that wouldn't melt for 10,000 years. Looking at his resolute face, my heart was instantly crushed into powder. Okay, I said, my voice so calm I felt like a stranger. Julian seemed stunned for a moment, probably not expecting me to agree so readily. But you have to sign an agreement, I added. What agreement? A divorce agreement, and a guarantee to never seek me out. He didn't know, that's what I desperately wanted. I wanted to escape this prison called Mrs. Julian long ago. He thought he was punishing me, but he was actually fulfilling me. Lila coughed weakly twice, clutching her chest, seeing his hesitation. Julian Gidge, I feel so uncomfortable. Julian immediately turned around, his eyes full of heartache. When he turned back to me, the last trace of hesitation in his eyes disappeared. Okay. He spat out the 2 words, decisive and clean. The lawyer arrived quickly. Julian's personal lawyer, also my friend, Miles. Miles was shaking as he looked at the clause on the divorce agreement. Party B voluntarily accepts MECT treatment to erase all memories of Party A. He looked at Julian, then at me, his face full of disbelief. Mr. Julian, Cora, you guys. Do it, Julian interrupted him. I picked up the pen and signed my name, Cora, at the end of the agreement. Each stroke like a farewell, and also a final parting. I pushed the signed agreement in front of Julian. Where's your guarantee? Julian took another document from Miles and quickly signed his name. The 3 words, Julian, in a flamboyant flourish. The name I had been obsessed with countless times now felt only piercing. I put away the guarantee and stood up. When does the treatment start? Tomorrow, he replied. Very good. I turned around, not looking at him again, nor at Lila behind him. I was afraid that if I looked for one more second, my pretense of calm would completely collapse. The moment I walked out of the villa gate, I heard Lila's delicate voice. Julian Gidge, she's finally gone, now it's just us. My heart was completely dead. I only took a small suitcase. Inside were a few changes of clothes, and a necklace my mother left me. Everything else, the luxury goods Julian gave me. Everything symbolizing the identity of Mrs. Julian. I didn't touch any of it. I left with nothing. On the way to the hospital, I sent Miles a message. Miles, thank you for taking care of me these past few years. After I leave, please help me sell my flower shop and donate all the money to the children's welfare home. That was my only private property and my only thought. The message was quickly replied to. Cora, are you really sure about this? There's still room for redemption. Looking at the rapidly receding street scene outside the window, I replied with 2 words. There isn't. He wouldn't know that the moment I signed the agreement, all my love for him had completely vanished. All that was left was liberation. The door to the treatment room was cold and heavy. Julian didn't come. Lila didn't either. It was just as well. I didn't want to see them at the last moment. The doctor held a form for me to confirm the memory fragments that needed to be erased. Everything about Julian, from the moment I met him until today, erase it all. I said calmly to the doctor. The doctor was a little surprised, but still marked it on the form. The treatment process may be a little uncomfortable, but it's all normal. I know. I lay on the treatment bed, the cold electrodes placed on my temples. In the last second before my consciousness plunged into darkness, it wasn't Julian's face that flashed through my mind. Instead, it was 5 years ago, when I first met him, wearing a white shirt, standing in the sun, as clean as a spotless angel. So, what I fell in love with was just a phantom. Goodbye, Julian. Goodbye, Cora. From now on, in this world, there will no longer be a Cora who loves Julian. When I woke up, I was lying in a strange room. Sunlight streamed in through the cracks in the curtains, casting dappled shadows on the floor. Where am I? Who am I? My mind was a blank slate, like a formatted hard drive. A man in a white coat walked in and smiled gently when he saw I was awake. You're awake? How do you feel? I looked at him blankly. Who are you? I'm your attending physician, my name is Reed. What happened to me? Dr. Reed sighed. You were in a car accident and injured your head, so you lost some memories. Car accident? I tried to remember, but I couldn't remember anything. What about my family? Dr. Reed handed me an envelope. This was found on you. Your family. They're gone. I opened the envelope with trembling hands. Inside was an identity card, a bank card, and a letter. The letter said that my parents had died in an accident. I was the only survivor, but because the shock was too great, I suffered from post-traumatic stress disorder and voluntarily underwent memory erasure treatment. At the end of the letter was my signature. Cora. Originally, my name was Cora. Tears fell without warning, but I didn't know why I was crying. Dr. Reed handed me a tissue. Don't be sad, it's all over. You are a brand new person now, and you can start a new life. A new life? I looked at the ID card in my hand, completely lost. No past, no future. Where should I go? Dr. Reed told me that the letter was prepared by a lawyer before my treatment, including this new identity, and a sum of money in the card. Enough for me to start a new life. I don't know why the me of the past did this, but she gave me a choice. I took the money and left the city I had lived in for over 20 years. I boarded a southbound train, without a destination. The train passed through mountains and fields. I looked at the scenery outside the window, unfamiliar, but it gave me a sense of peace. Finally, I got off the train in a small seaside town called High City. The air here was humid, with a faint salty smell of the sea. The streets were lined with flowers I didn't recognize. I liked it here very much. I rented a shop facing the street, and opened a flower shop. I named the flower shop Rebirth. The landlord was a very gentle man named Felix. He was a few years older than me and taught art at a nearby high school. The first time he came to collect rent, he saw the room full of flowers and smiled. You take such good care of your flowers. I smiled shyly. It was strange. I clearly didn't remember anything, but tending to these flowers and plants felt like an innate ability. Felix often came to my flower shop. Sometimes he would buy a bouquet to take home. Sometimes he would just stand and watch me trim the branches. He didn't say much, but I felt very peaceful when I was with him. Life was like the tide of High City, flowing slowly. My memory showed no signs of returning, and I didn't expect it to. Forgetting the past meant forgetting all the pain. My life now was simple, peaceful, and happy. Occasionally, I would see a blurry figure in my dreams at midnight. The figure was tall and aloof, making me feel a burst of inexplicable palpitation. But I couldn't see his face clearly. After waking up, my heart felt empty, as if a piece was missing. Felix saw my loss. He brought me a painting from his studio. The painting was of my flower shop, sunlight shining through the glass windows, and I was bending down to arrange a bouquet of sunflowers, smiling brightly. Cora, you look beautiful when you smile, he said. You should smile more often. Looking at myself in the painting, the emptiness in my heart seemed to be filled a little. I knew I was falling in love with Felix. In my 3rd year of running the flower shop, Felix proposed to me. There was no grand ceremony, just in my flower shop. He held a ring he made himself out of flower branches and knelt on one knee. Cora, I don't know your past and I don't care. I only know that I want you to have me in your future. Will you marry me? Looking into his sincere eyes, tears blurred my vision. I nodded vigorously. Ido. I thought my rebirth would continue like this, peaceful and happy. Until that day, the TV in the flower shop broadcast a piece of entertainment news. Film Emperor Julian appeared at the grave of his deceased wife Cora today, looking grieving. The hand holding the watering can trembled, and water spilled all over the floor. On the TV screen, a man in a black trench coat stood in front of a tombstone. The camera zoomed in, and I saw his face. That face overlapped with the blurry figure in my dreams. Julian. That name was like a key, instantly unlocking my sealed memories. Countless images flooded into my mind. The grand wedding he didn't smile throughout. The coldness and alienation of the 5 years after marriage. He ignored me and hurt me again and again for Lila. Finally, he personally sent me to the treatment room. As long as you do MECT forget me, let's get a divorce. Never seek my whereabouts. Those memories that I had personally buried came roaring back with bone-chilling pain. My heart felt like it was being clenched tightly by an invisible hand, hurting so much that I couldn't breathe. So I didn't have amnesia due to a car accident. My memory was erased by the person I loved the most. And he actually thought I was dead. Deceased wife Cora? The tombstone had my name and my photo. Who was he putting on a show of deep affection and regret for, in front of a cold stone? I held onto the table, barely able to stand. Felix came out from the back room, startled when he saw my pale face. Cora, what's wrong? Are you feeling unwell? He supported me, his tone full of worry. I looked at him, opened my mouth, but couldn't say a word. How could I tell him that I wasn't the simple and clean Cora he thought I was? I had a terrible past. I had been married to someone else, and I had been hurt beyond repair by that person. On TV, the reporter was still rambling on. It is reported that Julian's deceased wife passed away unexpectedly 3 years ago due to depression. Julian has been on hiatus for 3 years because of this, and only recently announced his comeback. Depression? Unexpected death? I suddenly looked up, staring fixedly at the screen. An idea flashed through my mind. It was Lila. It must have been her doing. She lied to Julian, saying that my treatment failed and I died. A truly desperate move. She not only wanted me to disappear from Julian's life, but also wanted me to disappear from this world. That way, she could rightfully occupy everything that was mine. And Julian? He believed it. He was heartbroken in front of my grave. Was he regretting it? Regretting forcing me to do treatment, regretting killing me? What a great irony. If only he had known this, why did he do it in the first place? My body started to tremble, not from fear, but from anger. An overwhelming hatred surged from the bottom of my heart. Why? Why could they ruin my life and still live at ease? Why should I hide in this small town, like a shadow that can't be seen in the light? Felix hugged me tightly, gently patting my back. Cora, don't be afraid, I'm here. His warmth, his voice gradually calmed my chaotic thoughts. I leaned in his arms and made a decision. I couldn't just let it go. Julian, Lila, you owe me, and I'm going to collect every penny. The new life I thought I had was just a bigger scam. The real new life should be created by myself, on the ruins of revenge. I told Felix that I wanted to go back to the city I used to live in. I want to see my parents' graves. This was the only excuse I could think of that wouldn't make him suspicious. Felix didn't ask much, just help me book the ticket. I'll go with you. No need, I refused him. I want to be alone for a while. He was silent for a moment, and finally nodded. Okay, then come back early, I'll be waiting for you. Before I left, he hugged me tightly. Cora, no matter what happens, remember, you still have me. My heart ached, and I almost burst into tears. Felix, you're so good. I don't deserve you. Back in that familiar city, I didn't go to the fake grave. I went straight to Miles' law firm. After 3 years, Miles saw me, and was so shocked that the cup in his hand fell to the ground. Cora? You aren't. I'm not dead, am I? I finished for him. Miles' expression became very complicated. He adjusted his glasses and asked me to sit down. What exactly is going on? Julian said that you died unexpectedly due to treatment failure. Lila told him that. I said coldly. Miles understood instantly. He sighed. I knew that woman wasn't that simple. Miles, I need your help. I cut to the chase. Tell me. First, help me find out how Lila forged my death certificate 3 years ago. I want the names and evidence of everyone involved. Second, help me investigate Julian's movements over the past 3 years, and his current relationship with Lila. Third, I need you to help me contact a top-notch PR team. Miles looked at me, with a hint of worry in his eyes. Cora, what do you want to do? Take back everything that belongs to me. There was no warmth in my voice. Miles was silent. After a long time he finally spoke. Julian has been Not doing well for the past 3 years. He deserves it. I interrupted him. He brought it all on himself. He's been out of the public eye for 3 years, and he's almost broken down, relying on alcohol and sleeping pills every day. He goes to the grave he built for you every week. You can see he's very regretful. Regret? I sneered. If regret were useful, what would we need the police for? He's discovered now that he loves me? Too late. When he forced me to forget him, why didn't he think about today? He pushed me away with his own hands, and now he's acting so affectionate. Don't you think it's disgusting? My emotions were a little agitated, and my voice trembled. Miles handed me a glass of warm water. I understand. Cora, don't worry, I will definitely help you. He paused and then said, Actually, Julian asked me to investigate Lila after you left 3 years ago. He was probably suspicious too. My heart stirred. What did you find? I found that Lila's illness was not as serious as she said. She had been using drugs to fake the appearance of being seriously ill, to gain Julian's sympathy. Moreover, she was the one who orchestrated the incident that framed you and caused misunderstandings between you and Julian. It was her after all. I clenched the water glass in my hand. Lila, your good days are numbered. Miles was very efficient. In less than a week, he put a thick stack of documents in front of me. Inside were all the evidence of Lila bribing doctors, forging death certificates, and fabricating depression diagnoses. There were also detailed records of how she had framed me and stirred up trouble between Julian and me over the years. Each and every one of them was shocking. I looked at the documents, and my hands and feet were cold. I always thought Lila was just a little scheming, but I didn't expect her to be so vicious. Does Julian know about this? I asked Miles. He doesn't know. Miles shook his head. He only found out that Lila was faking her illness, and before he could investigate further, he received the news of your death. The huge blow made him unwilling to investigate any further. He blamed your death entirely on himself. I closed my eyes. I could imagine how crazy Julian would be when he knew the whole truth. This was exactly what I wanted. I wanted him to tear apart the white moonlight he had protected for half his life with his own hands. I wanted him to taste the feeling of being deceived and betrayed by the person he trusted most. Have you contacted the PR team? I've contacted them, the top team in the country, ready to start at any time. Good. I stood up. Send these evidences to Julian anonymously. Then don't do anything, just wait and watch the show. Miles looked at me, hesitating to speak. Cora, are you really not planning to see him again? No, I didn't want to see him. At least not now. I was afraid that I would soften if I saw his face. And my revenge didn't need any softening. I returned to Haicheng, continued running my flower shop, and stayed with my Felix, as if nothing had happened. But I refreshed the entertainment news every day. Finally, a week later, I got the result I wanted. #Movie Emperor Julian posts late at night, denouncing Lila's scam #. Lila's character collapses. Years of disguise exposed #. Julian Lila # exploded. The news flooded in. Julian publicly revealed all of Lila's crimes on Weibo. From faking illness to gain sympathy, to forging my death certificate. Each one was accompanied by conclusive evidence. At the end of the long text he wrote, I, Julian, have been blind in this life, wrongly trusted a villain, and forced away the love of my life. Now that the truth is out, I only ask to find her and spend the rest of my life making up for my mistakes. Lila, you owe her, and I will make you repay it 10-fold, 100-fold. The public opinion exploded instantly. Everyone was stunned. No one expected that the frail younger sister Julian had cherished so much would be such a venomous woman. Lila's Weibo was instantly flooded with angry netizens. The brands she endorsed all announced the termination of their contracts. The TV series she starred in were urgently taken off the air. Overnight, she fell from the clouds into the mud, her reputation ruined. Looking at the comments on my phone cursing her, I felt no joy, only a cold desolation. Is this what I wanted? Yes. But this is just the beginning. Soon, the police issued a notice that Lila had been criminally detained according to law for the crimes of forging documents and fraud. Julian used all his power, leaving her no room to maneuver. He was insane. Just like 3 years ago when he learned of my death. No more insane than that. He personally destroyed the treasure he had protected for more than 20 years. This kind of pain must be more unbearable than death. My phone vibrated. It was a message from Miles. He's starting to look for you. Julian's search was overwhelming. He posted missing person notices on all media platforms. Using my old photos, smiling young and tender. The caption was, "Cora, come home." The reward was shockingly high. For a time, the whole country was swept up in a wave of searching for Cora. Countless phone calls poured into Julian's studio, all claiming to have seen me, but without exception they were all fake. I changed my identity, changed my appearance. 3 years was enough for a person to be reborn. Now I have long hair, a gentle temperament, and I am completely different from the girl with short, flamboyant hair in the photos. No one would associate me with the dead Cora. Felix also saw the news. He held his phone, looking at me with a complex expression. "Cora, this girl has the same name as you." I was packing a bouquet of roses, and my hand paused when I heard this. Really? What a coincidence. I pretended to be nonchalant and continued with my work. "She looks a little like you too," Felix said again. My heart jumped into my throat. Really? Maybe people who are good-looking are a bit similar. I forced a smile. Felix didn't say anything more, just watched me silently. I knew he might be suspicious, but I couldn't tell him the truth. I didn't want to drag him into this dirty dispute. Julian's search became more and more frantic. He stopped almost all his work, searching like a madman, city by city. He went on many talk shows. In front of the camera, the once lofty movie emperor looked haggard. With red eyes he recounted our past again and again, those sweet moments that I had deliberately forgotten. He said that the first time he saw me, he felt that this girl was like the sun, breaking into his world. He said that it wasn't that he didn't love me, he just didn't know how to love. He said that the thing he regretted most was not holding me tight when I needed him most. "Cora, if you're watching, please give me a chance to atone. As long as you come back, I'm willing to do anything." His every word was like a knife piercing my heart. It's laughable. The person who forced me to forget him back then is now begging me to remember him. The person who was cold as ice to me back then is now playing the role of a devoted lover in front of the whole world. If I hadn't met Felix, if I was still the Cora who loved him so much that she lost herself, I might really have been moved by him. But there are no ifs. My heart died long ago in that cold treatment room 3 years ago. The current me is Cora, but also not the Cora. I have a new life, someone who loves me. I can't go back. The search lasted for 2 whole years. Julian's patience seemed endless. He was like the most devout believer, conducting a long penance in his own world. And I was the salvation he would never get. I thought he would never find me. I thought our story would end silently in the torrent of time. I was wrong. Felix and I were scheduled to get married in the spring. Spring in High City is full of flowers. We went to the wedding shop together to pick out the bouquet for the wedding. I chose a bunch of white baby's breath paired with a few light pink roses. Felix smiled and said, "Beautiful like you." I took his arm and leaned on his shoulder, feeling this simple and real happiness. Just as I lowered my head to smell the flowers, a familiar and unfamiliar voice sounded behind me. "Cora." The voice was hoarse, trembling, with a hint of incredulous ecstasy. My body froze instantly. I didn't have to turn around to know who it was. "Julian. How did he find this place?" Felix felt my abnormality. He turned around and frowned at the man who suddenly appeared. The man was wearing a wrinkled trench coat, with a scruffy beard and sunken eye sockets, completely different from the glamorous movie emperor in my memory. He stared at me intently, his eyes filled with surging waves. "Cora, it really is you." He walked towards me, reaching out his hand, as if wanting to touch me. Felix stepped forward and stood in front of me. "Sir, please show some respect." Julian's gaze went over Felix, still fixed on my face. "Cora, don't you recognize me? I'm Julian." His voice held a hint of pleading. I took a deep breath and stepped out from behind Felix. I raised my head and met his gaze. Then, I turned to Felix beside me, with a puzzled expression. "Felix, who is this gentleman?" My voice was light and calm. as if I were asking about a complete stranger. In that instant, I clearly saw the light in Julian's eyes shatter. The ecstasy on his face instantly froze, then cracked inch by inch, turning into unspeakable shock and pain. He was as if someone had poured a bucket of ice water over his head, chilling him completely from head to toe. Felix put his arm around my shoulders, watching Julian warily. "Sir, you've mistaken the person. This is my fiancée, her name is Cora, but not the one you're looking for." "Non. Impossible." Julian murmured to himself, staggering back 2 steps, looking lost. Her eyes, her voice. How could it be? He seemed to have suffered a huge blow, and his whole body was swaying. I tightened my grip on Felix's arm, not looking at him again. "Felix, let's go, we haven't chosen the wedding dress yet." "Okay." We turned and walked past him. At the moment we brushed past him, I smelled the heavy scent of alcohol and cigarettes on him. He grabbed my wrist. His grip was so strong, as if he wanted to crush my bones. "Cora," he almost roared, his eyes red. "Stop pretending. I know it's you. Why are you doing this to me?" His emotions were completely out of control. People around were looking over, pointing at us. Felix forcefully pried his hand open, shielding me behind him. "Sir, please let go immediately. Otherwise, I'll call the police." "Call the police. Let the police come. I want to tell everyone. She's my wife. She's Julian's wife," he said like a madman. Looking at him like this, my heart was numb. This was the man I once loved. Pathetic and ridiculous. I finally spoke, saying my first words to him since our reunion. "Sir, you really have mistaken the person. There's no you in my memory." Those words, like a poisoned dagger, precisely pierced Julian's heart. He suddenly let go, staggering back, looking at me in disbelief. "You, what did you say?" I said one word at a time, clearly and cruelly. "I don't know you." The color drained completely from his face. His lips trembled, but he couldn't say a word. Yes, how could he forget? It was me who personally told the doctor to erase all memories of him. It was him who signed the agreement, agreeing to my request. He personally orchestrated this amnesia, so why does he now demand that I remember? Felix looked at him coldly. "Sir, you have seriously harassed my fiancée. If you don't leave, I will really call the police." Julian didn't seem to hear, staring at me with empty eyes. After a long time, he suddenly laughed. His laughter was hoarse, full of despair and self-deprecation. "Retribution. This is all my retribution." As he laughed, tears flowed down his face. A man in his 30s on a crowded street was crying like a child abandoned by the world. The surrounding discussions grew louder and louder. Some people had already recognized him and were taking out their phones to take pictures. I didn't want to get entangled with him any longer. "Felix, let's go." I pulled Felix and walked away quickly. Behind me was Julian's heart-wrenching cry. "Cora, don't go. Please don't abandon me." I didn't look back. Not even one step. At that moment, Julian knew that he had lost me forever. He personally pushed me away, pushing me into another man's arms. He personally erased all evidence of my love for him. Now, what he faced was just a stranger who had been completely formatted and had a brand new program written into her. And the writer of that program was not him. Back at the flower shop, my mood couldn't calm down for a long time. Felix poured me a cup of hot water, holding my cold hand. "Cora, that man, that's him, right?" He was referring to Julian in the news. I was silent. Now that things had come to this, there was no point in hiding it anymore. I nodded. "I'm sorry, Felix, I didn't mean to lie to you. You have nothing to be sorry for." Felix interrupted me, hugging me in his arms. "It's all in the past. No matter what your past was like, what I love is the you of now." "He won't bother us again, will he?" I leaned in his warm embrace and gently said, But I was wrong. I underestimated Julian's obsession. The next day, he appeared again at the entrance of my flower shop. This time, he was neat and tidy, back to the way he used to look as an actor. Only the red bloodshot eyes and heavy dark circles revealed his haggardness. He didn't come in, just stood across the street, watching me from afar. Watching all day long. He was like a waiting for her husband stone, enduring wind and rain. The flower shop's business was affected, and the neighbors also began to point fingers at me. Felix had a talk with him once. I don't know what they talked about, but I know that Felix looked very ugly when he came back. He said that unless you tell him personally that you've fallen in love with me, he won't give up. I almost laughed in anger. What right did he have? What qualifications did he have? I rushed out of the flower shop and walked across the street to him. Julian, what exactly do you want? When he saw me, a glimmer of hope immediately ignited in his eyes. Cora, you're willing to see me? I'm not here to see you. I'm here to tell you to get lost, I said coldly. The light on his face dimmed. Cora, I know I was wrong. Give me another chance, okay? Chance? I retorted. When you forced me to have treatment, did you give me a chance? When you treated me like a piece of garbage that could be discarded at will for Lila, did you think about giving me a chance? Julian, the way you look now only makes me feel disgusted. My words, like knives, stabbed into his heart one sentence at a time. He closed his eyes in pain. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Apart from these 3 words, he seemed unable to say anything else. I don't need your apology. I looked at him. I'm doing very well now, very happy. I have a fiancé who loves me, and we're getting married soon. So please disappear completely from my world. After saying that, I turned and left. Behind me came his desperate voice. Cora, are you really not giving me even one chance? My footsteps paused, but I didn't turn around. What you want is the Cora who loved you so much she was willing to die for you. But that Cora has been personally killed by you. My wedding took place as scheduled. On a sunny afternoon, in a seaside church. I wore a pure white wedding dress, and took Felix's arm, and walked towards the priest. Felix looked at me, his eyes full of gentle smiles. The church was filled with relatives and friends, all happy for us. It was a perfect wedding. Except for the uninvited guest in the corner of the church. Julian. He was wearing a black suit, sitting quietly in the last row, like a silent shadow. He had lost a lot of weight, and was much quieter. He just stared at me, his eyes filled with complex emotions that I couldn't understand. I ignored him. From the moment I decided to marry Felix, Julian was just a thing of the past to me. The priest's solemn voice echoed in the church. Mr. Felix, do you take Cora to be your wife, to have and to hold from this day forward, for better, for worse, for richer, for poorer, in sickness and in health, to love and to cherish, and to be faithful to her until death do you part? Felix looked at me and firmly answered, I do. The priest turned to me. Miss Cora, do you take Felix to be your husband? I looked at Felix, the man who gave me a ray of light in the darkest time of my life. I smiled, a smile from the bottom of my heart. Ido. When exchanging rings, I felt a burning gaze. I instinctively looked up and met Julian's eyes. In his eyes, there was pain, regret, blessings, and complete despair. He watched me put the ring on Felix's hand, then he stood up and silently turned and left. That figure, bleak and lonely, like a trapped beast abandoned by the whole world. I withdrew my gaze, my heart at peace. Everything was over. After the wedding, Felix and I went to the beach. We walked hand in hand on the sand. The afterglow of the setting sun stretched our shadows long and long. What are you thinking about? Felix asked me. I was thinking it's so good to have met you, I said. He stopped and pulled me into his arms. Me too. The sea breeze blew, bringing a hint of coolness. I saw a person standing on the rocks not far away. It was Julian. He was holding a bottle of wine in his hand, just standing there, looking at the boundless sea. Felix saw it too. He tightened his arms, as if afraid I would run away. I patted his back, signaling him to relax. I looked at the figure in the distance and whispered, Felix, thank you. Thank you for healing me. Thank you for giving me the ability to love again. As for Julian, he will use the rest of his life to repay the debt he owes me, living in endless regret, day after day, year after year. For him, perhaps that is a more cruel punishment than death. And I will live out this life happily in my new life. Life after marriage was peaceful and warm. Felix spoiled me like a child. I didn't have to worry about the flower shop business anymore. He hired someone to manage it. His greatest joy every day was to study various recipes and cook delicious food for me. My stomach was getting more and more picky because of him. We would go to the beach together to paint when the weather was nice. He painted landscapes, I painted him. We would also curl up on the sofa on rainy days and watch an old movie. My memory had still not returned. Those past memories of Julian were erased as if by an eraser, wiped clean. I only knew my past story from the news and Miles. It was like listening to someone else's experiences, not causing the slightest ripple. Miles came to me once later. He told me that Julian completely retired from the entertainment industry after attending my wedding. He sold all his properties and disbanded his company. Then he donated all the money and established a foundation named after me, specifically to help those who, like me, have suffered emotional trauma and need psychological intervention. He himself went to Tibet. He became a teacher in a remote mountainous area. Miles said that before he left Miles a letter and asked him to pass it on to me. I took it, but didn't open it. "Help me throw it away," I said to Miles. Miles was stunned. "Don't you want to take a look? Maybe. It's his final farewell." "No need." I shook my head. Let the past be the past. Whether the letter wrote of repentance or blessings, it didn't mean anything to me. My life had already turned a new page. That page should have been torn off long ago. A year later, I was pregnant. Felix was as happy as a child, hugging me and spinning around several times. He became even more nervous about me than before. He didn't allow me to lift heavy objects, didn't allow me to stay up late, and stared at me to drink milk every day. I laughed and said he was making a fuss. But he looked serious. "This is a big deal for our family." After 10 months of pregnancy, I gave birth to a lovely daughter. Eyes like me, nose and mouth like Felix. Felix named her Annabelle. He said that he hoped that our daughter would be safe, happy, and carefree all her life. I held the small baby in my arms, my heart filled to the brim. This is happiness. I once thought I was abandoned by the whole world, but it turns out that when God closes a door for you, He really will open a window for you. Felix is my window. On our daughter's first birthday, we took a family photo. In the photo, Felix is holding our daughter, I'm leaning on him, and all three of us are smiling so happily. I posted the photo on WeChat Moments. The caption was, "For the rest of my life, please guide me." Soon I received many blessings. Among them, one was unsigned, with only a simple emoji. It was a sun. I stared at that sun for a long time. Then I deleted that comment. Just like deleting that past from my life that shouldn't have existed. The sunshine in Haiching is always so warm. My new life has just begun. And that person who once made me want to die of pain has long become a blurry symbol in my life. No more hate, no more love. Just a stranger.